Yes, yes, yes. I am back again, all. Again, this is Marlene J. Ramsey, CEO and founder of Everyone Let's Talk, also your favorite self wealth mentor. I am also the CEO and founder of Mediators Medium, and soon to be your favorite civil and family and divorce court mediator. So, on this segment, let's get into some Kanye West. Having some orange juice. So, what did Kanye teach the world? Or what did the world learn from Kanye West? One of the things I can say with Kanye, first and foremost, is that he cannot be defined. Again, Kanye West cannot be defined. This brings me back to when he had he was interviewed by TMZ. And remember when he said 400 years of slavery sounds like a choice to me? And everybody said that he said slavery was a choice. But at that time, at first I said, well, what is Kanye talking about? And then with my neurodivergent self, I said, okay, he said sounds like a choice. Then I went on to do the math, find out how long did slavery last in the United States of America. Slavery lasted for 246 years in the United States of America. So where did the other 154 years come from? And I forgot how long that interview was. But the other 154 years came from the additional time that we had. At that time, I think that interview was in 2022 or so. And if you add from when slavery was abolished till 2022 or so, that adds the additional 154 years. I understood back then was that Kanye West was alluding to people have an inferior way of seeing themselves and seeing life. And to him, that comes off as slavery. People don't realize that they are allowing themselves to be enslaved, right? By accepting rules that other people make that they don't need to accept, right? Now, I'm not saying that we should disrespect rules. There are some rules we need to respect, right? Respect other human beings. Don't harm other people. Don't take the lives of other people. Don't, break the law. Those types of things we need to follow those rules because it actually causes disrupt to societal norms. It creates chaos, and then it leaves for leadership, higher leadership, to get involved to de-escalate matters and bring things back to a calm, right? So we understand that. But as far as your expression, your person, how you express yourselves, people allow themselves to be enslaved in this world in how they express themselves. And then other people are trying to entrap and enslave other people from being their greatest expression, from expressing themselves, especially if they are different. I think Kanye West has a challenge in the articulation department. He pronunciates his words, right? So that's not what I'm speaking about. I'm speaking about how he relay his thoughts, because his thoughts comes out chopped up. And I'm not sure if that has a lot to do with his anger, right? And so in his anger, he doesn't know how to be angry, but still finish complete thoughts. So he blurts out parts of his thoughts. He does not speak complete thoughts. Therefore, it's challenging for the average person. And when I say the average person, I'm not speaking about intelligence, minds, or any. I'm just speaking for just the average old Joe Smo or Jane. It is a challenge for the average person to understand where Kanye West is coming from because he does not articulate full and complete thoughts. And again, everybody doesn't think alike. And again, many people don't consider complexity or nuance. They treat everything, every incident as isolated, so they don't connect the dots. Right? The way I see things are, is every individual is their own story. Therefore, whatever interview they have today, I trace back to interviews that they've been having yesteryear. And whatever they said today, I can see where the correlation is and connection is to what was said last year coming up, right? So I treat a person like a book. It's not an isolated event, right? Or their appearance or interview is not isolated. Like this is not a one-on thing, and we should only treat this as it is. There are connections. We're flipping the page on an individual. So I say this to say that Kanye West has expressed his frustrations over the with the industry and just with people. And I understand. So watching his concert at SoFi, I was calling it Sophie, but SoFi in LA, and seeing his vision on display brought me to the understanding that Kanye West is thinking about things to a level that many people can't begin to contemplate. They can't begin. And this is not saying that because I couldn't begin to think like that, right? I'm not going to say I can't begin to think like that because my vision tend to be somewhat out there. But for how Kanye just, what we saw in SoFi is a great representation that Kanye is out there with his thoughts. Therefore, I can understand his frustration in trying to communicate such thoughts that can be considered as outlandish to people that don't have creativity to that level, right? I mean, who was it? Bishop T.D. Jakes that says that, you know, if you're a gallon sized person and you're involved with a pint sized person, they can only, and I'm paraphrasing, they can only love you to the capacity in which they are. So, I mean, they can love you with all their might, but if it's to the capacity of a pint, it can't be enough for you, right? Or what about something else that he mentioned about giraffes and turtles, right? A giraffe's vision is what it is. A turtle can never see things the way a giraffe can see things. And it's imperative that we understand these things, because how do we get people to say and understand that when we communicate or exchange with people that seems to be beyond our understanding, how do we respect them and just bow out gracefully, as in to say, listen, the only thing I can do is listen to you because I don't really know where you're going. And it's hard for me to follow. I'm trying to follow and I'm trying to go. So I cannot add to the conversation. I can only listen to follow and try to get an idea of where you're trying to go. Right? Um, it speaks volumes to how he was judged. And how he was judged as being crazy, and they put him on medication. This concert tells me why. I can understand why they thought he was crazy to put him on medication, because the average person don't think like that. and to that capacity. So, can you imagine what it's like to have a conversation with him? Going back to conversations again, because this is where we're at, exchanging with people in order to accomplish your goals, because we can't accomplish our goals by ourselves. And when you have such outlandish goals and they're so out there, how do you compartmentalize them or shrink it down so that it can you can better communicate and relay the vision that you want to project out, so that people can understand you and we all can move on the same page. That's what I'm learning about this whole thing with Kanye West, is that he is like this. How do we get people to understand that he's like that, and so that they can take bits and pieces of understanding him to digest what he's trying to say, right? It's important because he frequently comes off as if he's frustrated, and then you hear his anger. It's in his tone, and then it comes out in how he loses respect or whoever he's speaking to. Something to think about. It tells you that there was someone that said on Instagram, they posted on Instagram, cancel culture can't cancel culture. I'm going to say that again. Cancel culture can't cancel culture. What he revealed is that he is culture and he is influence. You cannot cancel influence. You cannot cancel culture, especially when the person has the grit and fortitude to overcome, right? Kanye has been canceled, supposedly. Contracts, he had lost contracts across the board. But what he has taught the world, or what the world should be learning from Kanye, is that as long as you still have breath, you're able to create and move on and create and continue on with life. People disagreeing with you, not understanding you, supposedly canceling you, is not the end of the world. Life goes on, provided that you have the fortitude to go on. That's a thing that we've learned. You know, why Kanye has such influence is he represents the freedom that everybody wants to have. He represents the liberty to be the greatest expression of himself. And many people wish they can do that. On top of his creativity, on top of his relatability, right? And even for the people who don't relate to him, they gravitate to his music, right? Music is universal. He showed the world that you are free to dream as big as you want to dream. Nobody allows you to think. You have agency and autonomy over your own brain, your own body. What is it that you want to do? Like, it was a great concert. I can't even begin to quantify what Kanye West put out there in this world. I, I can't begin. Huh? He's walking on a globe. He's walking on planets, lights, right? Um, Akira, I think it is the anime that he always liked, and he made the stage look like the scene of the anime where there was an explosion, and the anime supposedly had spiritual powers, and the government attempted to arrest the anime character, and the character got so angry that psychically its psychic abilities cause a mass explosion. And in that, his stage represented the end of the explosion, what that looked like. And I understand where he's coming from with that because there's oftentimes, and I'm not nowhere on Kanye's level, but the frustration you feel and think when you seem to be the only person thinking and speaking a certain way. I frequently say that I feel like I'm in the twilight zone. So I wonder what Kanye West says, right? What else he taught the world is because you think someone is crazy and they belong on medication, doesn't mean that's accurate. I hope he's teaching the world that don't be so quick to throw a person away or judge a person as someone that deserves medication because you can't understand them. If you think they're crazy, maybe it's because you yourself cannot understand where they're coming from, right? Because too often people entwine their personal capacity to a broad decision. So if you lack the capacity to understand a person, you put out to the broad masses and think that a decision should be made for this person and the masses should agree with you on that decision. So I hope in this process people are picking up that a mass unified decision doesn't have to be made against one person, all because you or that one individual don't have the capacity to understand or get along with said person, right? The other thing I'm learning, or we should be learning, is that many people in the world are still stuck on ego. When Kanye West held some Jewish people accountable in the music industry for the things that they are doing, they called them anti-Semitic. I just want to read what Semitic is. One second. So, Semitic refers to a subfamily of Afro Asiatic languages, including Hebrew, Arabic, and Aramaic, or the peoples who speak them, traditionally associated with descendants of Shem. While often used synonymously with Jewish people, especially in anti Semitism, it broadly includes Middle Eastern groups, including Arabs. Usage examples and context. Linguistics. The Semitic branch of the Afro Asiatic language family includes ancient languages like Akkadian or Akkadian and Phoenician. Cultural, historical. The Assyrians occurred across Fertile Crescent. Modern context. The conflict involves speakers of Semitic languages, including both Hebrew and Arabic. Religious. Aramaic faiths are often termed Semitic religions. So this is Jewish, Hebrew, Israeli, Afro-Asiatic, linguistic, Middle Eastern, West Asian, Shemitic. Origins term the term was coined in the 1970s or the 1770s to classify languages described in the book of Genesis as descending from Shem, son of Noah. The scope. It includes Arabic, Hebrew, Amharic, Akkadian, and Tigrinya, Grinjaya, or however I pronounce that. But anyway, let's get back to the live. It was important for me to to post that, because when he was labeled as anti-Semitic, in order to be anti-Semitic, you have to be anti all of that I've read and all of the languages that are associated with what I read. Holding accountable more due to other people behind scenes does not mean that he's anti all that's Semitic, right? So I hope that in all of this that has happened, that people are able to understand that as well. Holding people accountable doesn't mean that you hate everyone within that group or subtype. That's ridiculous. Because if that's the case, then the question becomes, how do such people get held accountable then? Unless you call them by names. But what he's trying to relay is that the people that were problematic to him and maybe others all happen to be Eastern European Jews. Here's the other problem that he has with that. And I think that some of us in the Black community, or maybe Jewish people, do recognize that they are our brothers and sisters. Yet when it comes to power, influence, money, they show a clear separation. So Kanye comes off as someone that's a hurt brother because he can't understand why you're doing this to him. How could you say that you're Jewish, knowing that I am also a Jew, right? Afro Asiatic, and you're treating me like I'm not one of you? Why? That could very well be the thing because, again, Kanye, when he's upset, he does not articulate a full and complete thought. He blurts out bits and pieces of his thought as if he cannot, maybe needs to work on controlling his upset so that he can finish a full and complete thought, right? But this is just my observation of him. And because I know that I'm different and misunderstood, I'm trying to understand. It took me a minute to get to understand where he's coming from. The other thing is this: Kanye is also the type of person that you need to ask questions. When he communicates in that way, we should be asking Kanye, what exactly do you mean? Or what exactly are you speaking about? Right? He is the type of person that when he says something, you need to let him know what's your interpretation of what he said. Like, Kanye, based off of what you said, this is what you said, and this is what I heard what you said, so this is how I perceive or comprehend what you said. He is the kind of person that requires that type of conversation. And again, some people might say, oh, it's too much, that's too much, but we do need to understand that there's, and everybody that's different doesn't need medication. Right? It requires being educated on their difference so that you can determine whether or not if you even have the capacity to engage with them. And then when you do engage with them, understand that you should develop a different way of engaging with them so that there can be a happy medium or common ground of understanding, right? That's what I learned. Another thing that I learned is that, he loved his kids, right? I learned that he's one of those people that is here for the world to experience, right? We all have different reasons and purposes for being here. Kanye's purpose, he's one of those people that shows the world that they are free to do whatever they want to do. Yes. Okay. Hold on, guys. Okay, I'm back. They're going to do some work on the bathroom. So, anyway, he's one of those people that showed the world that you can do whatever it is that you want to do, like I said before. Um, he's one of the people that is here to show that culture is not something that should be gate kept, right? Creativity cannot be gate kept. When you gatekeep creativity culture, you actually stifle the purpose and the trajectory of creativity. When you gatekeep, when creativity is gate kept, you deprive the world of seeing the greatest expression of creativity, right? And with all that is going on in this world, we should understand that God is going to place some people in this world to give us experiences that are larger than life, that we're going to remember for life. And these are great experiences. Just like there's animals, we have cats, dogs, bunnies, you know, rabbits, the same ferrets, horses, cows. Like there, why did God give, have all of these animals here? Some animals are here to accompany human beings, right? Because our cycle of life is challenging, and how we actually cope and deal with our life cycle requires that we have entertainment, we have animals, and other things that help us go on. And Kanye West is one of those people that is here to be larger than life, to give hope. That concert was a dealing of hope, right? Because the way people do things, there are times in life where people become hopeless and they lose zeal and reason to live. Watching his concert, I'm quite sure, gave a lot of people hope and excitement and zeal to live. It gave them a second wind. It woke up their creative juices, right? He cannot be contained. That's what the concert taught me. I'm not sure about what you've learned from the concert. It taught me that people give harsh punishment to people for spoken words, because words are powerful, but also for words that actually make people feel accountable. Some people are punished with some of the harshest punishment because of spoken words that made wrongdoers feel accountable. And in all, what we're also learning from this Kanye West situation is, as the UK decided to ban Kanye West, other countries have stepped up and said that Kanye West can come and perform at Kanye West. So we already know that Kim Jong Un invited Kanye West to North Korea, right? He said, Kanye, you can come and bring your concert to North Korea. Let me find this photo and go over, if I can find it, the go over. Yeah, here are some of the countries that said that Kanye West can come and perform at their country. So Kanye West will be in New Delhi, India. He will be in Istanbul, Turkey, the Netherlands, Poland, Italy, Spain, and Portugal, right? So what this is showing me is stepping up on behalf of righteousness. People are understanding that the punishment does not fit the crime. And how long are you going to punish Kanye West because he said some things that you disagree with and that you don't understand and that you don't like? It doesn't mean that he doesn't deserve to live a life and he doesn't deserve to be great. The rest of the world stepping up is showing us that the UK still has a problem with racism and narcissism, dressed up as integrity or righteousness. But it's not righteousness or integrity. It is really find the person that actually reached out to the consulate or whatever it is that you call that in the UK. Oh, I found it. So listen, there are two people in the UK that's responsible for having Kanye West banned from the UK from the wireless concert. And that is Phil Rosenberg. He sits on the Board of Deputies of British Jews. And this other gentleman called Chris Phillip. He is the minister for the cabinet office, right? So now let me read the letter that was written to have Kanye West banned from the UK, right? And this letter was written from Chris Phillip. So it says, Dear Shabna, I'm writing to urge you to prevent Kanye West, now known as Ye, from traveling to the United Kingdom ahead of his planned appearance at the Wireless Festival in London this July. Given his repeated anti Semitism remarks, including statements expressing sympathy for Nazi ideology, his return to the UK is deeply concerning. This is not a one off lapse, but a pattern of behavior that has caused real offense and distress to Jewish communities. His partial apologies have been retracted in the past and do not atone for what he has said. Both the Community Security Trust and the Campaign Against Anti Semitism have been clear that West, hold on, should not come. The Home Security has powers under the Immigration Act 1971 to exclude individuals whose presence is not conducive to the public good. These powers have been used in cases involving extremist or hateful rhetoric, including Louis Farrakhan and, I can't even begin to pronounce this other name. As you will be aware, these powers have also been applied in more recent cases, including the decision earlier this year to refuse entry to Eva Lardingsburg Rock. I have to look this person up. The same principle should be applied consistently at a time is rising in the UK, allowing someone with this track record to headline a major public event sends entirely the wrong message. Following the anti Semitic murders in Manchester last autumn and the attack on Hatzola in Golders Green just days ago, the UK's Jewish community needs action. You said a lot about fighting anti Semitism in a recent Community Security Trust dinner. Whether you act in this case or not will show if the words were hollow. Hollow. Now, this was written by Chris Phillip, who's a member of the Parliament for Croydon South, right? So now, the other gentleman that sits on the Deputies of British Jews, of course, he was in communication with Chris, and Chris sent this notice to the chaplain. But here's something that I question because this notice was written, let me see if I see a date, April 6, 2026. But Kanye West was been planned to headline the wireless concert. They already knew he was planned to headline the wireless concert. And the person, the owner of the wireless concert, actually supports Kanye West. Now, this is the person who organizes the wireless concert. Why, after watching or seeing Kanye West's concert at SoFi LA, was when they decided to cancel or ban him from coming into the UK. Why did they wait until after his SoFi concert? Right, because this wireless concert is a major concert. It happens every year. In 2025, Drake was the headliner, so they had to know that Kanye West was set to headline the concert way before the SoFi concert. I'm curious to know, why did they cancel or have him banned after his SoFi concert? And I'm gonna tell you why I think that is. And it is because he's that great. After seeing what he has done at SoFi LA, I think what that has done is triggered envy once again. And the problem that many people in society wants to continue to have is this ideology that black people can only be but so far. Right? There's a thought process where they have to allow you to be greater than what they want you to be. And if you happen to be greater than what they could possibly imagine, they have no intentions on wanting to see you continue to be great in this world. That's my understanding of why they did what they did at the time they did it, and I'm going to stick with it. Right? So, hold on. That's my take. What I've learned about UK's response to Kanye West. Um, is that going to change Kanye West? Maybe to make him a better man. They're doing work on the bathroom. So anyway, that's my take on what has transpired with Kanye West. Um, hmm. Bringing his daughter on stage with him is revealing that in spite of hard times, you still have to hold your head up and go out there and be great, be who you are, right? So he's also teaching his children to still have courage in the midst of adversity and in the midst of trouble, right? And it's not just his child. Any person's child that watched Kanye's concert would think and feel the same way, right? So he did he did something major for the world that you can't ever erase. You can't ever erase that. Anybody who sees these videos and see this concert clearly has gotten a boost of courage, a boost of understanding that I am great, right? And that's something that y'all they cannot take from Kanye. That's what I learned. That cannot be taken from Kanye West. Kanye West is not racist. He doesn't see color. Remember that he lived in China for a couple of years with his mom, right? So this is not about racism for Kanye. But every child outside of the black community was also inspired by this black man. Again, this concert dealt hope. His album is titled Bully because that is the energy that this world seems to be on in this day and age. People are like bullies. The album, the songs are so fitting with today's time. And no, he's not a Buddhist. Far from it. But he led his own peace rally and his own empowerment rally. And let's look at the people that helped him create that stage. It is a multicultural and multiracial team that he has. Kanye West showed that he does not need the system. He don't need the record labels. He's been dropped, but he was still able to put his team together, create the vision that he wanted to create, and do what he wanted to do. He showed the world that the record labels, to some degree, is gatekeeping and reducing creativity. Why? You all are allowing the world to miss out on true greatness. Could it be that the broader society has a need to control the masses, control the creativity of the masses, that they have no need for seeing the greatest expression of human beings for the sake of controlling people? Could it be that? And if that's the case, that's actually working against what God brought us here to do. Some people are just going to be that great, and that's it. Allow us to see this greatness. Let us see this. So, what Kanye West did, and I have to take, like Jay Z said, take that word out of my vocabulary, because Kanye West showed that no one can allow him to do it. He's going to go out and do what he wants to go out and do. I hope in the interim that Kanye West learned to communicate better, right? Oh, the thing about what he said with, all hell to Hitler and such. Again, I truly believe that Kanye West is the type of person that, if you're attempting to make him feel like he's a slave, or you're attempting to oppress him, he will say and use things that is going to remind you of your oppression. And he wants to know how you feel, right? Because again, he does not articulate a full and complete thought. It's always blurts. So when he did that, I kind of saw that as him saying, well, how you like me now? Remember when you were oppressed? Remember when this was happening to your lineage? Meanwhile, Black people has been through slavery for 246 years. Why does certain people in society still think that Black people are the people that you should keep your foot on our necks? Why is Black people still going through this in this day and age? Right? So they get angry and they talk about that because they're so righteous when it comes to them. But you have no compassion and empathy when it comes to the Black man. Why? I think that what also needs to be done is we need to propose a different way of dealing with issues that's centered around Jewish, because just calling people anti-Semitic is not true. When you're being held accountable, that's not anti-Semitism. When you read what Semitic is and you listen to what people are saying, how is it anti-Semitism? Like, how come they get to say that, not back it up, and get supported for that lie? Like that is one of the biggest lies that the Jewish community have ever told since the beginning of time. And I get that that you have to protect yourselves. But in the same token, when you protecting yourself is also an offense, you guys are also offenders. You don't just protect yourself. You're offenders, because what you do is put someone else in a victim situation and put them in defending them and making them out to be the offender. But holding you accountable is not anti-Semitism. It is just I'm against whatever it is that you're doing that I don't like. That's not anti-Semitism. You know what that means? Anybody who's doing the same thing that you do, then I will have something to say about that as well. It's about the act that is being done that is unfavorable, unpleasurable. I don't like it. It goes against my well-being, whatever the case may be. When you're against the act, that is not anti-Semitic. It's not, right? It's anti the act. And I think that the conversation needs to be had about how this word gets thrown around. And when people don't do their research, they really believe that you're anti Semitic, right? And then there's the attitude that goes along with wanting to hold on to that notion that the person is anti Semitic. That's That's malignant narcissism. That's Machiavellianism. That's psychopathy. When I watch and listen to how you support the saying of anti Semitism with there being no real proof of that, mm-mm, no, there's no humanness in that. That in itself is bully like behavior. Like you cannot be the victim and the bully at the same time. That's not true, right? It's not true. We need to find another way. This world and society needs to find another way on how we're going to address that so that our other Jewish community understand that they're safe and no one is trying to unreal or ruffle your feathers. But at the same time, what are you doing towards for the Black community? There needs to be a fair exchange, no robbery. But the way Kanye speaks, there's a lot of a robbery. There's no fair exchange, and so that's what he's talking about, right? Um, yeah, you know, he taught the world that courage and fortitude can get you a long way. He taught the world that he is here to be a hope dealer, and that I don't think people are speaking about. Influence is power. Culture is power. Every day, and how we do what we do is part of our culture. It's who we are. And what we shouldn't do is allow other people to gatekeep our culture and put a price tag on our culture. He showed the world that no, it's his creativity. God blessed him with this kind of creativity. You don't get to compartmentalize it, you don't get to control it. The person who was given the gift of that creativity gets to control it. Now, granted, because Kanye have this kind of brilliance, people get tired of him calling himself a genius. Well, this level of genius, it doesn't mean that he gets to disrespect and mistreat people. That we should, we should make sure we keep a firm stance on. You don't get extra kudos and get the leeway and the freedom to abuse, mistreat, disrespect, or whatever it is, dehumanize, degrade other human beings just because you can do great things. One has nothing to do with the other. If you want to do that, then that may speak to maybe you have a personality disorder, right? Those are the things that we need to focus on. Draw clear lines. Okay, we understand that you have this level of brilliance. Stop right there. Full stop. What you're not going to do is disrespect me and degrade me, dehumanize me. Full stop. Where the boundaries is full, and the lines are clear and understood, we can move along. I think people make life harder than what it needs to be. To me, it is never intended to be this difficult. But this difficult comes out of people's ego, this narcissism that exists. People who feel like they're superior and grandiose. Can you imagine the average narcissist who's not doing anything that feels superior and grandiose? Can you imagine how they think and feel when they're looking at a Kanye West? And you cannot blur the lines on where you think like your superiority doesn't even compare, right? So we have too many people like that that's in the world that want to chop great people down to size when God brought us here to be great and as big as we are. That's what we're looking at in this world. And then the people who think they're grandiose isn't doing anything to be grandiose, but they think they're superior. And it's okay to think you're superior. The problem with that is you thinking you're superior and actually doing things to undermine superior or great people. That's the problem. So, what I learned is that people who are actually great and grandiose don't have to tell people that's what they are. You see it in whatever it is that they create or do. Right? All malignant narcissists, whoever else that have a problem with it, get over it. All right, now I'll leave you all with that. Peace.